Hello again and welcome to the third episode of There Be Game. What I'd like to do, and this may turn out to be a nice long video for it, is talk about how to run a game. A recent conversation with Sam My 7 RPG has offered quite an insight into how I actually do run things, and it's always good to put this stuff out there and hear other opinions on it. Now, what really got me thinking was the fact I said, and I say this to every single of my group, I'm your travelling guide, your translator, and your companion. And it's true. I'm there to tell them what they need to do to travel, how they need to travel. I take their concepts, which, not just their concepts, their words, and I make it fit into my setting, and I do like a strongly themed medieval setting in all of my campaigns. And finally, I am there as a companion, because without the players, what would I be doing? Writing the story? Maybe. Maybe not even that. I don't know. What I'd really like to boil this down to is the three different roles: the guide, the translator, and the companion. The guide is obvious, at least initially. It's about how you get there, what happens on the way, where to avoid going, why to avoid going there. I also think it goes far, far beyond that. It's not just about the hows, it's also about the whys. You need to make sure that when they make a decision, that the information I've got there is believable, it's reasonable, that people actually are like that. They don't... No, that's a bad thought. That if somebody is misleading them, there's a reason they're doing it. It's not just because the GM's trying to screw with them, or the GM is screwing with them because he needs to pan things out. The rest of the guide part is you're there to direct them on some level. You're not a director yelling, cut, cut, you got it all wrong, we need to do this back from page 1. You're there to direct their growth as their characters, even how they level to a limited degree. Why? Because you're trying to hold a world together. You're telling at least 2 stories, if not 3. Their story, the story of their campaign, and the world story. That ferryman that they just paid off, what's he going to do with that money? You might not need to know the answer to that, but he's going to be doing something with that money. People work. They don't exist to serve the adventurous. That's the truth of the world. That's the truth of the world you need to run. The translator. Now, while I've only run 2 campaigns, I've written more than a few. And a lot of them have been fantasy, and a lot of the feedback I get from people is that quite a lot of people aren't willing to take themselves back to a more medieval mindset. There's no public health. There's no public education. You don't go down to the supermarket. You go down to the market. You barter. There's no regular systems of communication. There's no... You can't count on things in the way you can today. Which is, if anything, a subject for another video, just talking about how the access to information changes what you need to do to run something and the threats that you put in. But staying with the point, research was much harder back then. So was getting the information out to people. People weren't educated. If you wanted to find information, you went to somebody who spoke to a great many people, or who a great many people spoke to. Clergy, mayors, town criers. There's not a great big notice board in the front of the tavern saying, we have a problem with monsters. Go buy somebody a drink. Not even that. Speak to the town crier. They were important people because they controlled the information. And you need to give that to people in a way which makes sense without making it too obvious that you've had to fudge things. That's why you're a translator. You take everything they do and you translate it, you make it fit into a world where, quite simply, a lot of people don't know how it was like. I don't really know how it was like. That being said, I make an effort, I do some research, and I think about what would people actually do in that case without access to the internet, without access to even a small library to call their own. And finally, companion. I could spend hours talking about the need for this, but I like to see as one thing the GM does is that they're the bard, they're the chronicler, they're the scribe that follows the group around. Why? Because at the end of the day, there's going to be good sessions and bad sessions, and when there's a bad session, you want to make them feel good about stuff they've done. You want them to know that they've done good, that they've done amazing things, that they've taken on fey spirits, greater fey spirits, and walked out of the encounter without too many wounds or curses. You want them to know that they've done good things and they've saved a village from slavers or orcs, bandits, that they've done something which means something in the world, that even if they forget for the moment and only remember years later, that they can turn to you and ask, what's happened? And I think that's, if anything, the most important thing. That at the end of the day, your players know that they can go to you, talk to you, and you can talk to them about what they've done, and they know that you're going to be honest about it. And on top of that, you are going to be able to remember everything. So if there's anything to take out of this, be kind, be friendly, take lots of notes, and make sure you back them up in countless locations. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing more important to the group than knowing what they've done, and what they've done has mattered.